Awesome. Welcome, everybody, to the Kidley and Swtorista Year in Review for Star Wars The Old Republic. We're going to be going over all the cool stuff that happened last year, as well as some of our hopes and ideas for 2020. So we're actually going to go back a little further than 2019 and talk about December 2018. This is because something really exciting for the game happened during that, which has affected the entire year. How long did we not have an expansion? Was it 2 whole years or about 3 years?
Yeah,
I think it was closer to 3.
Closer to 3, yeah.
So when people ask, is this game worth trying? Is this worth getting into? People are often asking, is it going to be shut down within the next few months? Like, am I wasting my time playing it? And during that time, as time passed and the years got longer that we didn't have an expansion, the answer to that question kind of started going down. Like, will this shut down soon? We're really not sure. We can't quite tell. It kind of looks like it's heading that way if we haven't had an expansion for 3 years. And then all of a sudden we found out that we're getting not only we got a really cool piece of content coming in December 2018. This is probably the biggest piece of content we'd seen since the last expansion. And this was the Ossus and Jedi Under Siege storyline. When this started coming out, they were saying there's going to be a different storyline, Imperial side and Republic side. There's going to be all kinds of secrets hidden across the planet. There's going to be dailies. There's going to be all this cool stuff, as well as some more companion returns. I don't know about you, Kidley, but I was so excited when I started hearing about it. How'd you feel then?
Yeah, absolutely. And as it turned out, Ossus was an incredible story and storyline as well, setting up for what we'll talk about later. And you know me, I love Datacrons, and so, we got some new Datacrons too.
I think Ossus blew me out of the water. It was I would say it was almost on par, better than the 2 planets that came out in this expansion in terms of exploratory stuff, secrets, and maybe even storyline. Storyline maybe not as much, but it was huge. Like, it was way bigger than any other daily planet.
Yeah.
So when that... Sorry, go ahead.
And I was going to say, and it had been a while since we had seen a planet like that as well, and I think a lot of people were really happy with it.
Mm-hmm. So not only did that come out, it also had 2 different world bosses people could play. The return to the Imperial and Republic storylines, which was a huge boost in the idea that the game would continue, because you don't make 2 whole storylines just to stop the story. Master Mode Gods from the Machine came out. That's an operation. Gave a lot of hope, I would assume, to the raiding community, that they were not being totally ignored like they kind of had been in other certain parts of SWTOR history. Tier 5 crafting gear came out, which was pretty interesting. And there was also something kind of cool, but not quite as hopeful as that content coming out. It was around this time that the cartel market kind of started changing gears. Do you remember that, Kidley? They started releasing more direct sale armor instead of hiding in the packs, and these armors were really, really beautiful, crisp armors. I don't know if you want to show up the Callous Conqueror from Collections and the Resilient Warden. It was like a switch had flipped. Like, someone had decided that, okay, we're going to be totally changing how we handle the cartel market, going away from packs and going towards direct sale, and how they treat it in terms of quality. Like, the quality of the armors took a huge jump. Like, people would say, oh, all the best armors are on the cartel market. And when this started happening, I would say, yeah, that was 100% true, because both the art, the design, and the quality of the textures, as well as the subtle things like the animations, went through the roof. How do you feel about the fact that they moved towards direct sale instead of just cartel packs with the randomness attached to them?
Well, one thing that the BioWare crew is really good at is following trends within the gaming industry. And so there had been basically a switch that got flipped in the gaming industry, moving away from just the loot boxes to doing some different things, and as you said, doing more direct sale. And so they were pretty quick to make that change and to follow the new trend. And like you said, a lot of what they had done was really, really good. I've talked quite a bit about my new favorite armor set, which is a rip-off or knockoff, I should say, of the Star Wars Rebels Caden Jarrus outfit.
Yeah!
And I love that one, and
Kidley!
It's got some really good detail on it too.
Oh, I'm so excited! I watched Rebels! I watched the whole thing!
Oh, you
did?
Like
2 weeks ago, I finished all. It's really good. So I'm no longer in the haven't watched it club. I'm very proud. Sorry, go ahead. Oh, you're gonna show off your armor, I see.
Yeah, I'm just showing off that armor set for those who haven't seen it.
Oh, that looks really nice. You dyed it too. That looks great. So I'm really happy that they started moving towards the direct sale. I actually stopped doing cartel pack opening videos like 2 or 3 years ago because I felt it was kind of predatory, really kind of preying on the whole gambling aspect, and
Yep.
I didn't really want to support that. So I have no problem with cosmetics being viable in-game. I think it's another great avenue for game creators to make money. I'm very happy to shell out $20 for a fancy lightsaber or something like that because it does feel completely optional. And in most games, especially in SWTOR, there's other ways to get it. Like I was a very poor student. One of my fond memories was going to the dollar store and getting declined on my debit card for $1 worth of food. So during that time, I didn't have any money to buy any of these cosmetics, so I could go buy them on the GTN, and that's a totally good avenue for most players if you're willing to grind out the heroics and stuff like that. So I'm happy they're moving towards direct sale. It feels less predatory, and it feels like something I can support a bit more, just as much as I can support go buying a cool jacket at the mall or something like that.
Yep.
So once we finished up Jedi Under Siege, that gave a lot of hope. Oh, not only that, there was also some cool guild updates during that, which was very interesting. The guild system had kind of been left alone since the launch of the game, except for when they added flagships, which was pretty damn cool, and conquest too. So there's a new guild progression system. Are you in a guild on the server, Kidley? If you could open that up. I don't know if you are here.
Yep.
Nice. So we've got this whole progression system. It's very nice that I think they paid some attention to guilds, because being in a guild that you like could probably extend your time in SWTOR by like a year or more that you might have not played if you were flying solo. And so all kinds of cool updates, like things that guilds can work on and upgrade and progress with together. There are some downsides to it, but I think overall their interest in the guild system and this update was a positive one.
Yeah, I think it's something that people have been wanting for a long time, and I think they're looking to do more with it down the road. And
that's funny. I was thinking the exact opposite. I think after that update, they're done. They're like, this is the last guild update you get for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I can see them doing a little bit more with it. Because there's other games out there that have like, guild vendors and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if they're going to maybe do something like that.
Could you point out the new heraldry on the screen too? So if you don't happen to be in a guild, they also added something very fun, which is called guild heraldry, where you can really define your guild a little more than you could before, and you can create your own little flag. And not only does this flag represent your guild and show up in the guild panel, it also shows up beside your name. If you've ever seen nameplates of other players and they have a weird little symbol, they might have two. One is a cosmetic flare that you choose personally, and the other might be their guild symbol, which is really cool. Because apart from that nameplate, before they started making all these guild updates, you had no way to share anything about your guild unless you typed "my guild is the bestest" in chat. Like, you can even link your guild now, and it'll show what your guild level is, which kind of reflects on your activity. What else does it show? I see there's one in chat if you want to click it to see what's in there.
Yeah. Yep, members, guild leader, bonuses, recruiting message, guild tags.
So this is a really interesting change in that they made it easier to promote or talk about your guild or share your guild with others. And what was kind of funny was before, you could just lie about your guild. Like, there was no way to know if anyone was saying anything about their guild was true or not. At least you can get a really simplistic numbers-based look at a guild now. Also, they have a really freaking cool flag. Good job, the Dark Wire. And this is when we start jumping into actual 2019. The first big update that we got in 2019 last year was the Wretched Hive. And this was a new single operations boss called the Geonosian Queen Lair operation boss on Osis. So it was really cool that they went back and added another piece of group content. Have you gotten a chance to run that one, Kidley?
I think I have twice. Yeah, it's a pretty good little boss.
Yeah, so it gave us another thing to do after most of us had finished Osis by this point. What was it, 2 or 3 months later?
Mm-hmm.
And then around that same time is when the Guild Heraldry was also introduced, and the update was called Heralds of Victory. And I don't know, in my guild, that was something we were super, super psyched about. It doesn't obviously give any new content to play, but it was something we were excited about because we're very proud of our guild and enjoy it. And I think a lot of other players feel the same way. And even for smaller guilds, it gives another way to express yourself to all the hundreds of thousands of other players that are playing on your server.
Yep,
all right.
Absolutely.
So in April 2019, probably my favorite month of the entire year was Star Wars Celebration. And Star Wars Celebration is a large Star Wars based convention. And this year, last year, it was happening in Chicago. And something really cool happened. I saw that the event was coming. I thought it'd be really cool to go, and I noticed that they happen to have fan applications available. You could either host a little Star Wars seminar, like collectors would host one talking about a certain collecting theme, stuff like that. There was a music-based panel, but you could also apply for an exhibitor's booth, like a booth on the show floor, and there was fan-based ones. Most of them were collecting-based, like Minnesota Star Wars Collecting Club. But I thought it would be really cool if there was a SWTOR club. And whoa, what happened on your screen, Kidley? Oh, there we go. Awesome. Thanks. So, Kidley, you can go through all the photos if you want. So, I applied for a fan table and we were actually accepted. So, this was a huge project spread across the entire community, I would guess. Even Kidley was a part of this. We are partnering up with different streamers at the time so we could kind of share the physical convention with those who are across the world, SWTOR fans. And also, we are bringing the community to the event itself. Like, if you can see in the computer screen, there's a bunch of characters showing. We made a montage of like hundreds of different player characters so they'd kind of be there at the event too. And like if you see the taller gentleman there, he's the owner of the lightsaber that the lady in the center is holding. That's Fiona and Dekion and Zed. And that's a Satil Shan lightsaber. So we were able to bring different types of props. We brought like hundreds of dollars of giveaways for people that you can see on the table. There's Star Wars The Old Republic buttons. And the SWTOR team actually gave us a developer signed copy of the what's the special box called, Kidley?
Yeah, like the collector's edition or special edition.
Yeah, there you go. And it was such a cool event. That's when Kidley was mentioning that he actually broke a streaming record. So how did that happen, Kidley?
Yeah, so BioWare, this is where they actually announced Onslaught, and we had set up basically a camera there, and we were able to live stream the cantina, which was very cool.
Yeah, it was very chaotic. I wish they would stream them officially themselves because it's very difficult to do. But luckily, we got very lucky. We were able to stream the event. Very fun. We were streaming with another player beforehand and showing off all the different costumes. We paired up with the cosplayers of the Old Republic that I literally met through doing the event. And like, I don't know if you saw their banner earlier, but I actually made that for them. And it was super cool. We kind of shared a space and we had cosplayers from the Old Republic always hanging around the area. So that was super, super cool event. That's by far was my favorite month because you should have seen us. There was a cantina, a giant hotel room, basically a ballroom filled with Star Wars fans. A majority of them are all dressed up in different cosplayers. Like we had a HK costume, we had tons of Jedi, we had an Arkin, we had a Valen, we had a what's the crazy lady that Darth Malora. We had Darth Malora, and then all of a sudden they announced there's a freaking expansion coming out after we haven't had one for 3 years, and everyone's like, "Oh my god!" and as Kaylee said, there was over 1,000 people watching at that time, so I'm sure everyone is freaking out in chat as well, huh?
Yeah. Here's Charles Boyd there on the left.
Yeah, very cool. The creative director of the game, who I guess you could say designs most of the story of the game. That's him on the far left in the really badass Jedi costume. He's got a trooper one and a Mandalorian one too. So another cool thing that happened around the same time, related to this, was a project called the SWTOR Guild Finder. I had been giving feedback when they were adding all this guild stuff that there really needs to be a way to find a guild outside of the game, so you can really investigate, search, filter guilds based on what you're looking for, because everyone has a different set of ideals when it comes to finding a guild. For example, if you're a new player, you may not even care what server they're on, and you're happy to join a server based on what guilds are there. Or maybe you're looking for hardcore operations, or maybe you're just looking for a social guild with lots of people in it. So we released a new tool called the SWTOR Guild Finder. Kidley, could you pull up the SWTOR Guild Finder on Google for me?
Yep.
So my requests were obviously not taken up. It was a huge project, so I understand why they didn't choose it. You have to integrate it with the website, and it have to be integrated with the game, and it's just a huge thing. I assume they decided wasn't worth it in the long run. So I said, if they're not gonna make it, doggone it, I'm gonna make it. So this is the SWTOR Guild Finder, and this was a tool that I created for the community, but it's basically run by the community. So at the time of launching this, we had 300 different guilds that we'd partially invited. Like, we would create a listing for them and then give them the login details to update it and publish it. And now we have over 500 different guilds. So you can search by server, you can search by faction, you can search by what type of things you're looking for, like role play, social, operations. You can search even by time zone. And I really like that there's now a way to look for a guild. It was a lot of work to set up when I first made it, because I had to hand code it. I'm not really a web developer, but I dabble, I guess you could say, and it was enough to make this. But now it's been running for like a year, and I basically have barely touched it, because guilds can go add and update their own stuff without having to ask me for permission or anything like that. And I have a group of volunteers that moderates it, so make sure it's not spam or anything like that, and they just have to click a few buttons to approve or remove them. There's also a cool little system that I did update a few months later. Kidley, if you can see on the left-hand side of guilds, there's kind of a little bar filled up with looks kind of like a badge or something, and there's a SWTOR logo symbol. If you scroll down a bit, Kidley, you can see them beside each guild listing.
Okay.
So yeah, those things right there.
Oh,
And
okay.
this shows how finished this guild listing is, how invested the guild leader is in advertising and sharing the guild with other players. So when a guild leader goes to add their guild, it gives them suggestions like, oh, you should add a little more information about, like, how do you actually join the guild? Oh, you should add a way to contact you outside of game, maybe through Discord or through Reddit or Gmail or whatever. So it actually gives a lot of feedback to the guild leaders so they can better share their guild as well. This platform also provides a way for guilds who don't have like an official fancy website or forums or whatever outside of SWTOR. They can still share this in game and share a lot of information about their guild. It gives them a little short link they can even share in general chat as well. So for me, this was a huge project and really exciting one for the SWTOR community, and I'm really happy it exists.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So that was April 2019. In the next update that we got was in July 2019, and that was the Dantooine event. And the Dantooine event was kind of an interesting thing, because we knew the expansion was coming, but we knew there wouldn't be any huge updates until then, because we just assumed that the developers were going to work hardcore on the game until it came out. But we also knew it wouldn't come out till the end of the year, which is pretty much when every expansion has ever come out. And so we got a new planet called Dantooine, the new in-game event called the Pirate Incursion. Did you actually get to try these yet, Kidley?
I did. And I met the very friendly bird.
Yes, I remember you showing that. I had a total fail when it first came out. It was super, super buggy. Do you remember that? Like, it crashed the Starforge server, if I remember right.
Yeah.
So I haven't actually tried it yet, because I never got a chance to go back after that. But not only is there a wartime event, which is the I guess monthly or so event, there's also peacetime secrets that you can go explore. So Kidley, do you have any videos about the peacetime events up?
I
The collecting mushrooms or something. I know that mmobits.com has some info for any of you who want to explore that.
Yeah, I don't think I do.
Yeah, I don't either. Like I said, I haven't even tried it out yet, but I'm looking forward to it. One of the things I like is that, 95% of SWTOR's content, it doesn't become irrelevant. You can always jump into it at any time. Like, I can go back to this whenever I want. If it's 2 years from now, as long as the game's still running, I can go back and enjoy that content. And it's very interesting because people always ask, is it too late to join SWTOR? Kidley, is it too late?
Absolutely not.
So unlike some other games, it's nice because you can jump in at any point, and although the story might get a bit confusing if you do things that not in story order, it's fine. You just can go back and do it if you want. It's like you can go back in time and encourage that story to happen for your character. Yeah, so Corkimus says, I literally just started playing last week, and that's awesome because now you have 8 years worth of story content to enjoy. Have fun, my friend. So we got a very interesting update shortly after. I don't have the correct date, but it's I called it the free-to-play love update. And this is when they started really digging into changing the way the free-to-play system works in Star Wars: The Old Republic. The free-to-play system was introduced about a year after launch because of a decline in the game that happened when players finished all the content that was released. Then they had nothing to do, so they kind of like wandered off and played other games or whatever. So they introduced a free-to-play option to the game, and it was very restrictive. Kidley, would you say SWTOR has had at least had the most restrictive free-to-play system of all MMOs?
Well, there's a lot of games that have gone through a lot of different systems like it.
Yeah.
It was definitely up there.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the worst, but it was very heavily restricted. Like, compared to, I guess, normal video games, I would say you get a huge amount of content. Like, you get 200 plus hours worth of content easy.
Mm-hmm.
But the restrictions can sometimes really drive people away. They're like, ugh, if they don't stop asking me for money, I'm just gonna leave. So
Which I
year,
don't think the game ever went too crazy, because there's some games that are always just pushing that kind of stuff in your face, and that's one thing that SWTOR never did.
SWTOR also introduced free-to-play, their original system, long before some MMOs even existed. For example, a lot of people say, oh, Guild Wars 2 system's pretty good. And I'm like, hello, Guild Wars 2, the entire game was introduced after SWTOR even launched free-to-play in the first place. So the fact that it was launched such a long time ago also kind of reflects the gaming values of the industry and the consumers at the time. So only now have they started adjusting it. So the first big adjustments were that they raised the credit cap in 2019 to 1 million credits. And this was a very, very cool update because it had been like that for like, what, at least 6 years? It had been such a small amount of credits.
Yeah.
And so this was supposed to kind of aid free-to-play players with the fact that the inflation of the market has been really big. You can actually buy quite a few things with 1 million credits now, including some in-game unlocks that you didn't have any access to before. So first off, removing that restriction so it can be less annoying for players as they're playing was a really nice update. They also They also added 2 tiny things that were more hotbars, which is cool because I noticed that was one of the things people complained about a lot. Like, gosh darn it, this game makes me pay for freaking hotbars. I don't want to play this. Which I think is pretty fair. Restricting hotbars is kind of a weird one. I think they just threw restrictions on anything they could because they didn't have a lot of other games to model it off of. They kind of had to make it up as they went because there was really, I can't think of any free-to-play games at the time. So they just put it on everything and see what stuck, basically, and didn't change it till 6 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And there was other tiny update, unlimited quick travel and unlimited medical probes, so you can always revive in spot when you kill yourself over and over by accident. Kinley, do you remember around that same time there were some mysterious observers showing up on, it was either Odessin or Dantooine. Do you remember that?
I heard about that, yeah.
So that kind of that mysterious observers were a hint towards the next piece of content that was coming out. And the next piece of content was Onslaught. So in October 2019, we finally got an expansion. And as we talked about earlier, this was incredibly exciting because you don't release an expansion in a game that you're going to shut down anytime soon. That would just be a stupid waste of money. So now pretty much everybody could say, the game's gonna last a while. Like, here you go, we just got an expansion. And that's how I feel about right now, where the game is at. Hi, we just got an expansion, we're getting regular content, the developers are excited about the future, so come on in, have fun, enjoy. I don't have to say an awkward conversation of, oh, we haven't had an expansion for 3 years, so I'm not sure if this is a good time. So let's go over how much stuff was released with Onslaught. So basically, they've been saving all their developer power for Onslaught and released just everything at once. So first off, we got 2 new storylines, very separate Republic and Imperial storylines. And this was really exciting because this started on Ossus, but Ossus was quite short because it was just meant to be a daily planet. And this is the first time since the first expansion that we've gotten separate storylines. These separate storylines are a ton of work for the developers. It's basically like releasing 2 different expansions almost, because it's not just like, oh, we need to write a new story. It's like, oh, we need to write a new story and all of its permutations and all of its effects and all its companion things and all of its ways it affects the classes on that side. So it's a really big ask as players. We love having separate storylines. We feel very connected to the faction that our character is a part of, and we want to see stories that reflect that, and we finally got it. So that was really cool. The only downside about this expansion was that probably because of those 2 separate storylines, these stories were quite a bit shorter than any other expansion. Would you say that's true, Kidley?
Yeah, because generally, when it came to the chapters, Fallen Empire and Eternal Throne, each chapter was anywhere from about 45 minutes to an hour, hour and a half.
Yeah.
I think Onslaught in total per side was somewhere between about 4 to 6, depending on how quick you were.
That's I think that's if you're looking at every tiny little thing. I've seen most people said they finished it in an afternoon, and then you go do the other side too, at least. All right, so what else was there? The max cap was raised up to 75 from 70. It's pretty funny to see players who haven't played since the launch of the game and said, last time I played this, the level cap was 50. Now it's 75. Oh my God. And with that came all types of things. I think most classes got a new ability. But before I go into that, we're going to say we got 2 new planets, Onderon and Mechshaw. Kidley, I believe, is running around the second planet of Mechshaw. And these planets were very interesting and cool choices, in my opinion, because Onderon is an extremely lore-heavy planet for those who enjoy lore outside of the movies. For example, the creative director that we saw wearing that Jedi costume earlier is a big fan of the comics. And Onderon's history actually is very strongly created in the comics, but for video game players, it's also very strongly rooted in the Knights of the Old Republic 2 video game. There's a lot of lore and I guess attachment to the planet from that as well. So it was very cool to see them bring that planet to life in SWTOR. They did the exact opposite on Mechshaw, which I also thought was very cool. So Mechshaw is actually an asteroid that has been turned into a haven for scum and villainy. And it's, as you can see, if you look around, there's a bunch of buildings and canisters and shipping crates all attached to this inside of this asteroid, and around the asteroid has a big shield, I assume, to keep the breathable air inside. And it was something very different that didn't exist in Star Wars lore. So basically, they created a planet from scratch, created all the lore and the characters that live there and its history, and introduced it beside a very lore-heavy existing planet. So that was super cool. What do you like about Mech Shaw, Kidley, since you're there with the Wookiees?
I've always been a fan of these cities type worlds, like your Nar Shaddas and stuff, and this one really reminds me of Nar Shaddaa a bunch. Hold on,
Yeah,
I gotta hug this Wookiee. Hold on.
There, you gotta scooch around until you can hug him. Perfect. So what was when I first saw Onderon and Mech Shaw screenshots when they were first announcing it, I was like so not impressed. Onderon just looked like, from the screenshots they released, some reused assets, and Mech Shaw just looked like Nar Shaddaa, and it was like, what? This is what we're getting after we waited for 3 years. But once I finally got onto the test server and saw it, I was really impressed and excited. I was really enjoying walking around both planets. Mech Shaw, I still really enjoy walking around. Like whenever I have to go there for something, I'm like, oh, it's so fun. There's so many little platforms. You can do it, Kidley. I believe in you. Get on that little floating thing.
I gotta wait for it to come around.
I still haven't done this one yet. So we also got a new flashpoint called Objective Meridian that was on Corellia, but it wasn't just like a reskin Corellia. It was kind of a whole brand new area of Corellia. Is it different Republic and Imperial side? I've only done it Republic side so far. I assume the Nemesis is pretty different.
Yeah, structure-wise is the same, but yeah, boss-wise it's a little different.
So it was cool to have them add another piece of content that you can both solo or do with 4 players. And is there a master mode too, like a hard edition?
I'd actually have to look here real quick.
Yeah, sorry, I haven't checked out.
Yes, there is.
Yes, awesome. So it's very cool to see them continue the ability for you to do this type of content. If you don't have to do operations, if you don't like the 3-hour-long 8 to 16 man things, you can still go in with your group of friends as 4 people and work on this really difficult master mode content, which I think is super cool. And speaking of operations, we also got a new operation called the Nature of Progress that was based on Dexon. For those of you who have been following the legacy of Zerka, the horrible money-based science research team, they are once again bringing their chaos to another planet, and I believe they're trying to make tech-based crazy monster weapons. Yeah?
As they do, yep.
And I haven't tried this one yet. I'm super looking forward to playing it eventually. Just my schedule doesn't allow raiding right now. Oh, sorry, Kidley.
It's all right.
Have you tried the Circa operation yet?
I have run it once.
And what did you think of it? I've heard from other players that they really enjoyed the new mechanics that were available. Like, it's very different. You're not having any luck there, sorry.
Took the wrong fall. But no, it's definitely easier than Gods. And
Gods was really hard. Gods was a
yeah.
response to everybody saying we need more mechanics heavy operations.
Yeah, everybody seems to be pretty split on it. It's like some are like, well, we want an easier operation, and then there's others that are like, no, we want a hard one. So
that's interesting. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to it, so I can't really give any feedback. So with all that content that came out, one of the things that the developers spent a lot of time adding was the new gearing progression system, and this was called Spoils of War, and they kept calling it a horizontal progression. So the idea was that you wouldn't be trying to increase your numbers so much as trying to increase the spread of gear that you have available. And now the current item rating max is 306, so you're aiming for 306 armor, and you start off with a free 268 set from Osis. What was it in the last expansion? Was it 242 the best one, or 258? Oh, nice! I remember someone releasing this chart before the system came out, and everybody was up in arms. Everyone was so pissed off. They were like, oh my god, you have to go through 240 different tiers of gear to get the best gear in the game. Okay, I'll stop screaming now. Sorry, but it was, the community was so mad. but it's because we didn't really understand how it worked, because it wasn't really presented well on the PTS. It didn't really present it as a normal player who just reached 75 would play the game. You got lots of bits and pieces of the system, but you didn't get the whole one at once. So first off, we're going to say a huge thank you to everyone who played on the PTS and did give feedback on those different parts, because they are the unsung heroes of this gearing system. Although I really like it, so let me say that beforehand. I like the new system a lot, but not everybody loves it. The thing is that without that feedback, it would have been a lot worse. Like, for those who didn't like it now, they would have hated it. They would have thrown it in the trash and burned it and then posted it on Twitter, basically. So thank you so much for those of you who did go on PTS and did do testing. I know Zamzam from MMO Bits was one of the few people providing content about the PTS. And oh, you're so close, Kidley.
Oh, so I got it. This is where I want to be.
Oh. So you meant to careen off the side of that thing?
That's how you do this datacron. Yep.
Well, I was planning to just jump on it and fly around on it, so I think I was on the wrong track. So another interesting change to gearing is their Renown system. In the last expansion, they introduced a gearing system called Galactic Command, and this was the worst system ever introduced to the entire game. Everybody hated it. I think I only met like 1% of the population that liked it as it was released. It was incredibly random based and incredibly unavailable to be able to pick and choose which pieces you are going to try and earn over time. So newer players hated it because they would get gear so slowly, and older players hated it because they would be grinding and still not getting the pieces that they wanted. So over time, the SWTOR developer team over that 3 years actually, started introducing additional ways to gain gear, and eventually it balanced out to something I think most people could at least deal with. Personally, I liked it by that time. But there was a system called the actual Galactic Command system within the game, where you would get a random piece of gear whenever you got so much XP after max level. And that system did carry over to this expansion. It's now called Renown. Mm-hmm. And one thing that players were a little cranky about was that your Galactic Command level was reset back to 0. So in the new expansion, you started with Renown level 0. This was because of an interesting change where all Renown ranks literally don't mean anything. You just level up. It takes the same amount to level up each time. You get the same reward each time. So it was an interesting change. Like, was that something that bothered you to have it all reset, or did you not care?
Well, I feel like we still need some more information from BioWare about this, because I think it's a system that they're going to expand on, because in their early announcement of Onslaught, they actually mentioned seasonal content within that system.
Yeah,
and that's something they just haven't put in yet.
So what's interesting is this Renown system in the current environment of this expansion is probably like 8th on the list of the ways you get gear. Like, it's so down there. Is like, I consider it just a bonus extra way to get gear every once in a while. Like, I don't even think about it at all. I'm like, oh, hey, look, an extra crate. That's nice. So we don't know what's coming up in the future. Yeah, like Kidley said, they were originally announcing that this system, they were mainly creating it so that they could build upon the system and not have to redo the gearing system every time there's an update, which is kind of what they were doing before, and it was super awkward. What do you think? Do you think we're going to start getting a new tier of gear or new types of gear anytime soon? Because they've already actually started introducing new sets of gear. We've seen a few new set bonus and a few new tacticals since the Onslaught launch. I know I got a new one available as a Trooper Vanguard.
Well, I don't think we're going to see a new tier anytime soon, because according to the rumors that are out there, we're going to be playing what we have now for a couple of years. And so I feel like if we
I don't
do
think so, man.
You don't think so?
No, like, they specifically made it so they could update it, and they've already released new types of armor. Like, we might stay at item rating 306 for a year, but I think we're going to get new tacticals and new set bonuses and new amplifiers that are every time they come out are going to change the game.
No, you're definitely right on that. Yeah, I meant just the numbers. I don't think the numbers are going to change.
Gotcha.
I mean, if they do, maybe by the end of 2020 we see something new. But no, they've said that, you know, with every patch they had planned to do, you know, new tech items and stuff like that. Definitely.
Yeah, which is interesting because the item rating now, it doesn't necessarily mean a lot because there is that horizontal progression. Like I've been this has been my year where I've started to dip my toes into making class guides. And one of the interesting things that when I'm talking to these really, really good players in their class, like often some of the best probably in the world, I'll ask, okay, which tactical should I use? Which set bonus should I use? And they never give me one suggestion. They specifically give me like a list of 5, and I use this one for this type of situation. I use this one for AoE. I use this for running through heroics or whatever easy content. And so I think players are going to really focus on trying to collect those different sets. For example, I play very slowly. And I waste a lot of time doing whatever I want instead of focusing on gearing. I'm only like 278 or something like that. I don't have my full set bonus or anything yet. I was spending a lot of time researching crafting and roleplay stuff like that. So as a player who plays casually and slowly like that, once I finish my entire set bonus and get to 306, not only do I have the opportunity to go chase after those other set bonuses and other tacticals so I can collect them for different situations, I also can jump over to my alts and do the same thing for them as well.
Yeah, and they've already talked about the loadout system coming into the game at some point this year.
Do you think that's going to happen? I thought it would come out with Onslaught, so now I'm not sure it's going to happen at all.
No, Charles did an AMA on Reddit, and he actually said that it was going to be a 2020 thing.
Well, so I should add that to my list of things to expect in 2020. Nice.
And it kind of goes back to what you're saying a little bit on how people were recommending different things, and you know, I think people are gonna have, you know, a rating set, a PvE set, a leveling set, a crafting set, and so
yeah, I have a crafting set. That's my only complete set so far.
But yeah, once they actually get the loadout system in, and you're actually able to equip all of those, and
it'll be so cool to switch around between them. I'm looking forward to that. That'd be neat. That would give me a lot more motivation to actually go chase after that gear, I think. So I have a funny note in here. It says, telekinetic stages were bugged, but will now receive advanced class, and roll drops from all sources. Do you remember that happening? Like, for whatever reason? Whoa, you in a secret cave?
It's not a secret to me. But yes,
I played Onderon and Mexshaw, but I have not done the exploratory stuff yet. That's one of the things I like, that I can come back to it later. It's not a freaking problem if I can look forward to playing the content like 6 months from now. I like that a lot. And people are pretty good about spoilers, I noticed. People are bad about spoilers for movies, but for the game, I noticed most players don't like, oh, look, secret spoiler, here you go, here's some, whatever, Freenad, whatever. So besides telekinetic stages not being a buggy mess anymore, we got Kai Zykin as a vendor in the game. So Lee, could you give our friends here on stream a primer about who Kai Zykin is?
It's basically Eric Musco inside of the game.
So this character was introduced in the Shadow of Revan expansion, and he's just this goofy guy like, hey, dude, you're gonna come buy stuff from me, right? I'll give you a good wink and a nudge. And somewhere along the way, someone said this character was basically the community manager in real life, but in game. So they've been using this character as kind of a meme, I guess you could say, in a game for the last 3 years or so. Like, there's this really funny GIF that they posted on Twitter where it's a zoomed out image of Drummond Koss, and then they zoom in for like 6 years, like it's just zooming and zooming and zooming and zooming, and then it's Kai Zykin posing like a strong man at the end, like. But so Kai Zykin is this new vendor that they introduced that will sell pieces of gear, but what he sells is only available on the weekend, and it's a random assortment of what's available. So it might be useful to you, might not be useful at all. So this is the first time No, not the first time, but many other games have daily rewards or reasons to log in every day. SWTOR right now has Conquest, which is a reason to log in weekly, but it requires a lot of work. So, like on weeks where I know I'm not going to be playing a lot, I don't even bother thinking about it. But this vendor was the first time to go and check out the vendor and log in real quick to see if there's something that you need, which is very interesting. And do you think they'll ever start checking out more daily rewards or weekly rewards in the game, Kidley?
Maybe, but that can also go back to the potential of seasonal content as well with
Yeah,
with the
right.
Renown system, because I think that's initially what their idea was. Now, whether or not they actually carry through with it, I don't know. And for those who maybe don't know what I'm talking about, there's a bunch of other games out there that do this seasonal content, everything from Fortnite to Dauntless, whether it's a an RPG type game or a battle royale. And it's basically they initiate a new season, you start your renown at level 0. As you're leveling up your renown, once you hit 100, 500, 1,000, whatever, you will actually get here's a speeder, here's a customization, here's some dye, basically rewards built within the actual leveling system of the renown system.
So we'll
It'd be-
see, I guess, huh?
Yeah, it'd be cool if they actually do that, because I think that's what their intention was, but they just
Yeah,
didn't
I
have
think so,
time to
too.
implement it.
Plus, you don't need this seasonal content when you just launch the expansion. Like, it doesn't need to be right away. So we got some slight interesting changes to the way our classes work. Could you open up your utilities, Kidley? So previously we had 4 tiers of 6 utilities, and now they've been bumped down to 3 tiers of 8 utilities. This has been interesting because it has changed up a bit of the dynamic of what you would choose. And personally, I think it makes it a lot easier for newer players to understand, like, oh, look, I need to pick 4 of these and 4 of the next one and 4 of the next one. So that was one of the actual changes to classes. There wasn't a ton of change to the classes themselves, but the gearing between the set bonuses, the tactical items, and the changes to stats did, I would say, drastically change a lot of the classes. Do you feel that way, Kidley?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So it's kind of cool that they didn't completely revamp the classes themselves. And if you want to, you can play them the exact same way as you played in previous expansions. Because one of the things that players complain a lot about is when, and rightfully so, I'm not sure if I should use the word complain, is that sometimes their abilities get deleted in expansions and updates. For example, I was working on my power tech guide about how to be an awesome shield tech, tank, power tech, and one of my questions was, where did my death from above go? And the answer is it got replaced by another ability, but that ability isn't quite as cool and doesn't have the name Death from Above. So it's cool that they added a new ability to the classes, but they did not delete any this expansion as far as I can tell. Here's a cool one. The lockout for story mode operations, the 8-man group content in the game, is now only 24 hours. Previously, it was a weekly reset that happened on Tuesdays. So their idea was that story mode content in the game, especially operations, should be something you can do in an hour or two. It should be something you finish in one night. It should be that easy, even if you're doing it with rando people who don't know how to play. The only bad part is if you're playing with people you do plan on playing with later in the week, you can't go back and finish it if you were slow or you sucked or whatever. So, Kidley, how have you felt this has affected story mode rating?
As a developer, you always have to be careful with gating content. I feel like whenever you have a game like this, especially if people are paying a monthly fee for it, you need to let people just do what they want to do. Whenever you restrict them or hold them back, it can be an issue. So I think this is a positive change.
It's very interesting.
If people want to grind faster, let them grind faster.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So it's both a restriction and a boon, I guess you could say. So for example, because it's a 24-hour lockout, if you want to run the same operation literally every day of the week, you totally can now. That's an option that's available. We have this problem in our guild fairly often. Someone will say, "Hey, Bob, hey, we need to fill in. Can you come play and join us for this operation?" And the person will say, "Sorry, I already did it earlier in the week and I can't join." Now they totally can very easily join. What button is Kid Lead clicking?
Nothing.
Are you like poking the fuzzy Yoda?
No, the Datacron.
Oh. So now our friends can join us very easily on any given day. The bad part is when we're playing with friends that are still really learning the game for those longer operations, like you were just doing Scum and Villainy, and you got about, what was it, like 5/7 of the way through?
Yeah.
So now you can't come back to it tomorrow. You're done. Sorry, you suck. Can't play it again tomorrow, even if you're sick of playing it right now. So that's been an interesting change. Oh, Kelly, we got Nautilins.
We did.
Do you want to tell the nice people about Nautilins?
Let me bring up the CC real quick. But no, I think BioWare, they've mentioned in the past that they have some sort of internal list based on player feedback on what people want for new species. And Garuda was at the top of the list, so we got those, and then I think it was Nautilins.
Yeah. How they did it was very interesting, though. They made it so that as long as you're subscribed within like a month or two before the expansion came out, something like that, you would get them for free. So they were basically a free perk of the expansion if you were playing at the time, which I thought was super cool because I'm sure there's plenty of people who might have wanted to try a Garuda, but didn't feel it was worth it to buy the unlock. But Nautilins were basically another like thing that they could announce as a part of the update, not something that they just are trying to make money off of, but something that was actual, like almost a gift to the players. That was super cool. Like if Garuda had come out with this expansion and they said it was cartel coin purchase, I would have just never included it as part of my updates for what's coming in Onslaught. That would have just been like another cartel market update. So that was really cool that they decided to do that. And then now I think you can still buy Nautilins for like 600 cartel coins if you missed out at launch.
Yep.
So what do you think about the way Nautilins look compared to different representations of them in the game, as well as in like Star Wars movies or in Rebels? Did they show up in Rebels? I don't remember any. I think in Clone Wars, I think.
Yeah, there might have been one or two, but it's kind of hard to remember. But no, I think they look fine. They look pretty much like how they're supposed to. I really like some of the jewelry options, like the eye patch one as an example. That one was really good.
I freaked out when I saw that. I was like, I wasn't expecting this at all. So players had interesting thoughts about how they looked. They do not look like the Nautilins that we have in game.
Yep.
We've never gotten a very clear answer about why or why not. So some of my guesses are, one, we know Garuda were changed to fit with the Garuda that were part of Clone Wars, kind of a lot more similar to that. And maybe this is something Nautilins were done for too, like they were meant to fit Nautilins that were represented in different part of Star Wars media. I don't know if that's true though. My other guess is that it was a technical limitation that they had to try and make them fit the humanoid skeletal game developer skeleton. I don't know what it would be called, the rigging or chains or something like that. And this is just the best they could do with what they had. One of the things that the in-game Nautilins have are a lot bigger eyes. And even now, every once in a while, you'll equip a Nautilin unfriendly item, like something that will have, what's the one that I think it's called Dynamic Brawler, and when you equip it, it makes like a sparkle in your eye when you take out your weapon, something like that. Players found a bug where you could see the sparkle in the character creator, even though it's not visible on Nautilins because they're helmetless, and the sparkle showed up like in the weirdest spot. Like the Nautilins' eyes are already way higher than they would be on a humanoid character. So my guess is as the rigging. I really wish they released a little more explanation about it, because there's something a lot of players brought up, like, why don't they look like the Nautilin I like in game?
And I wonder if at some point down the road they'll change the in-game ones. Because they did kind of the same thing with the Cathar.
Yeah,
It's like when they put in the Cathar, they then changed all the Cathar.
Not all, but any new ones that came out. And same thing with here. Any new Nautilins that are out, they look like this. I'm gonna take a second. I need more water. I talk too much. I'll be right back.
Okay. No, I had thought that when they changed the Cathar, they had changed all of them, but maybe they didn't. Because I know they changed all the main ones. You had like Jorgen and stuff like that, and they changed those guys, but... how do you get the cool borders around your character portraits? Let me jump back here real quick and I'll show you. Yeah, we'll probably do some Q&A here in a little bit for anybody who has any questions. But yeah, let me show you that one here super quick. I personally don't like the Cathar. I'll just never make one.
Kid Lee, I'm back. I'm gonna do a plug. Are you ready?
Give me 1 second. So to answer your question in chat, what you'll do is you'll hit C to bring up your character sheet. Then you'll notice there's this little like metal icon up here, and you can see where it says select title. So you click on that, and then you're looking for character flare. And depending on how many you have, this is the option. And there's actually some codes out there that will give you some free character flares if you're looking for those. Otherwise, there's other ones that are on the cartel market. Sorry, go ahead.
Here's my plug. So if you're enjoying these types of conversations and like being able to watch live SWTOR talk, I don't really stream a lot, if at all, because I like to focus on videos, but I would recommend to sub to Kid Lee. So Kid Lee, how do you follow this channel so people can know next time you go live to play SWTOR?
Yeah, whether you're on the desktop or phone app, all the way up in the upper right is where you can follow any channel on Twitch. And we definitely do appreciate that.
That's right. You follow Kid Lee. Do it. Do it. Do it. And that's
Is that
another
your
way
emperor?
to show...
Do it.
No, that was a horrible emperor. I should be fired. And so that's another way to show support for the streams that I do with Kid Lee. Because like I said, I like doing them with Kid Lee because he does all the technical stuff and carries most of the weight, and I can just show up and have fun with you guys. So please follow him for saying thank you. So here's the free stuff. Let's see if I can post it in chat. Yay, it worked. So these are some free codes. If some of them don't work, please tell me which ones don't work. We started getting some reports in 2020 that some of the, I think, Star Wars Celebration ones have stopped working, but I haven't confirmed it yet or not. So let me know.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to look up here on my YouTube here real quick. I know there was somebody who just made a comment about some ones that are working. Let me find that super quick here.
As we're like intensely looking through chat.
So as of a few days ago, these ones also work. Let's see, were those in the list that you had? Yeah,
They
17,
should be, yeah.
16.
I just haven't taken off the ones that don't work yet because I'm waiting for more reports. Because sometimes people report they're not working, but it's just because they're dumb or they already used them or whatever.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's keep going over the list. Yeah. Oh, so interesting, very, very interesting addition to the game with Onslaught is the Shroud of Memory quest.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a quest to re-recruit, I'm going to get the wrong HK. Was it HK 55? The yellow one from Kotfi?
See, I can cheat and I can look here super quick.
Nice,
Yeah, 55.
thanks. So, what was interesting is this was a very exclusive reward.
And Zoom,
It was... And Zoom, yeah. So it was released for players who subscribed for 6 months straight during a very content dry period of the game. I actually did not get this reward because I had unsubbed because I was so unhappy with the direction of the game that I was like, I'm going to vote with my wallet and I'm just going to go preferred. Suck it, Bioware. Since then, once they announced they were going to be working on group content again, I believe that was when they started working on Gods from the Machine, I happily resubbed. But this was a reward many players missed out on. Maybe because they weren't playing as much because the content was very low at the time that was coming out, or maybe they just didn't want to subscribe for 6 months straight. That's a pretty heavy money commitment, I would say, for most people, especially because most players play very casually. So this reward was an actual story content chapter that only people who subscribed for that 6 months straight could play. And this was very weird because this was the first time BioWare had released anything like this. They had released subscriber rewards in the past, but they've always been just cosmetic items. So I don't think anybody would be up in arms too much about missing out on them. Like, they wouldn't be mad about it. They'd just be like, ah, oh, darn it, missed it. But this one was actual story content part of the game, and I don't know, I would say people were pretty cranky that they couldn't get it. Would you say that?
Oh, I definitely agree.
But at the same time, if you had to subscribe for those 6 months and you specifically subscribe for those 6 months to get this story content, it would be really crappy if BioWare just decided, okay, here, everybody, you can have it. You didn't have to make the commitment or pay all the money or whatever. So now we can get the Shroud of Memory quest, and it is a purchasable Cartel Market item. How much does it cost, Kidley?
$3,800.
Let me translate that to dollars.
I think it's 20-something dollars, isn't it?
No, even more than that.
Is it?
So you can buy 2,400 for $20 USD, or you can buy 5,500 for $20 USD. So you'd probably end up spending about, if you didn't have any cartel coins yet, you'd probably spend like $40 and then have some left over. So it's very interesting. So you could also save up for this if you wanted with your free cartel coins. Oh, that's cool. I just did the math. So you would save up for about 8 months of free cartel coins, a little about the same time as you would have paid for subscription to unlock it before, because you would have had to subscribe for 6 months. That's really neat. So it is available to not have to buy cartel coins to get it. If you're a subscriber, you just save up for it. And so how do you feel about this being released without having to do the commitment during the time frame?
I feel like the price is a little bit high, and I would have done things a little bit different. I would have actually thrown this together as a promo where if you, well, or basically anybody, if anybody subs for 6 months in a row, they automatically get this for free.
Oh, that's a cool idea. I like that idea. I think this works because it's about the same. It's a little more than 6 months worth of cartel coins. But yeah, that would work really well too. I wish they would have more rewards like that, ones that are not time period gated, but instead, like, if you're a subscriber for 1 month, you get a little pet. If you're a subscriber for 3 months, you get a little flare. Stuff that you can earn at any point in time. You just have to commit whatever, but maybe not certain months in a row. But yeah, I was happy this came out because I missed it, and I think it's good that the price is high so it doesn't piss off people who did commit in the past, because I really like exclusive content that you have to get during a certain time. Makes you feel special, gives you a reason to log into game, and but I also want to get stuff that I didn't get in the past.
Yeah, and that's totally understandable. There's definitely the people out there who are like, an award or reward comes out and they're like, I was there, I did the thing, I earned it, and nobody should ever be allowed to do it again.
Yeah. Do you remember the Dark versus Light event with Master Ranos? I worked my butt off for that, and I really felt like I earned it. It was such a cool reward along with the other rewards you got along the way. It was such a neat event. I would be pretty mad if they released it so you could get her very easily. But I would like the event to come again so people could do an equivalent amount of work to gain her in the future.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So next, there was some major changes to Conquest. in 2019 in general, but I don't have the specifics. Just that I know there's always a hullabaloo about them being too hard or too easy or whatever. Do you know much about that?
Funny enough, I don't. I've never really been into Conquest. Every once in a while I see feedback on it, and some of the changes are good and some of the changes are not so good, and it seems like it's one of those things that I feel like it has gotten better, but it's maybe not perfect yet.
Yeah, I don't know how it could be perfect. It's a competition between guilds, and I don't think that could ever be perfectly balanced in the end. So anyways, if you're interested, there's lots of guides. I know Volk.com has a full conquest guide. I think that's the one I usually recommend because he keeps it pretty up to date. So if you want to check that out, go ahead. And that's vulkk.com.
Yep.
Next up, there was some major changes to crafting, and I can actually tell you all about this because there were no guides about crafting for level 75, so I had to make one. So one of the big changes was that for experienced crafters, you will have to pay 500,000 credits to be able to reach the new max level of crafting for each of your crew skills. So not like you can't pay to go from 600 to 700 level crafting, but you have to pay to even get to be able to have the opportunity to craft at that level. So if you have 1 crafting skill and 2 gathering skills, it's going to cost you 1.5 million credits before you even start crafting for level 75. So what they were doing with this expansion was to create many different credit sinks. This is only one of many of them, but it's not friendly to players who are just starting crafting because people don't understand how easy it is to make credits when they're newer to the game. They're like, oh my god, 1.5 million credits, that's more than I've ever had in the lifetime of my account. Do you have any thoughts on the credit inflation, Kidley?
There was definitely a lot of credits out there, and between the crafting stuff and some of the other stuff that they're doing with the gearing system, I feel like some credit sinks were needed. They may have gone a little bit too far with it.
I think they did with crafting, but like, remember there was a weird thing on Dantooine where you could spend 150 million credits for an achievement?
Yep, and the amp reroll system is a little high.
Yeah, the amp reroll system. But crafting, they went really hardcore on the expensivity of crafting. So when crafting was released, one of the reasons there was no guides was because it was too expensive. 100%. Like, there's not even any argument to it. Now that I've done my research, it's very interesting. You can craft your way all the way to the best item rating in the game. So item rating 306, which is really cool. It just costs a lot of materials and time. So the reverse engineering chances is how you learn the higher, better schematics. You craft the basic one that you get for free, and then you destroy it in the hopes to learn the better version of it. And you go through like 7 tiers of doing this until you can craft the best one.
Mm-hmm.
So what a really cool change to crafting that I think may be the player's choice of coolest small update of the year was the crafting bay. If you could show that on screen.
Sorry, the crafting what?
The materials bay, the thing where all your crafting mats go. I had to Google what the correct term for this was. It's the materials bay. So this is really so cool and very, very nice for both new and veteran players. It's awesome for players who play casually as well as those who play hardcore. So anytime you happen to get a crafting material, you can either pick them up off of nodes on the ground, like if you see a crystal and scan it and pick it up, or if you send your companions out to gather, the crafting materials, most of them automatically go into this crafting bank, I guess you could say. And this crafting bank is available legacy-wide. That means all your characters' materials go in here, and everything you craft on any of your characters can be taken out of here. And it just works. That was the thing I was shocked about. Like, it has a few little flukes and stuff here and there, but it just works. Like, you don't have to constantly be shuffling your crafting materials in your legacy bank and switching them between characters and trying to figure out who has what. They are just there. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's hands down one of the best things they've ever added to this game. It's something that people have been wanting for years, and they finally did it. And so many people are like, "Oh, my legacy bank is cleaned out now." And
yeah, like it gives you like 2 to 3 extra legacy banks if you're a serious crafter. It's awesome. Even before, when you had them in the legacy bank was also a huge, awesome update. But even then, you still have to like push and pull the materials around between your characters. Yeah, some of the mats don't go in there, but you can still throw them in there. You just open the materials inventory bay and you just drag your items in there and forget about them.
One quick thing I'm going to say here real quick. I've seen a lot of questions in chat, people asking about the game and stuff. We'll do a Q&A once we're done with this segment. So if you guys want to hold off on your questions until then, we'd be happy to answer any game question that you have.
I'm too excited about this list. I'm sorry, I can't stop. No stopping the 2019 train. But yeah, we love doing Q&A, so we'll definitely do that after. So copy paste your questions for later. So some cool little changes that can you even Kidly, closer UI or just your boxes. And you can actually see some of the changes graphically. You have an old mailbox symbol, lame. And some of the icons around the non-quest givers have been changed. So there's icons for vendors have changed. Mailboxes will show a little green counter when you have mail in them. Storage icons got changed. Taxis and crew skills got changed. And some mission icons, I think. See if you can find
Swtorista, this is the Republic fleet. They're a little behind on their changes sometimes.
Their technology sucks. But another thing you may notice, I don't know if you can see it because of the compression of the streaming, but there was some major lighting changes to the fleet that are cool. If Kidley goes under a street lamp, he can probably see it, which is kind of neat to have graphical changes on this basically staple area that everyone visits every day. The Republic fleet is really ugly, but this made it slightly less ugly.
Trying to find the God Rays.
Yeah, I was looking for them too. They're really cool. I don't even know if Republic side has them. They look awesome inside.
Here we go.
Yay! So just some really beautiful lighting effects have been added all over the fleet. Like there's lots of little ones everywhere if you take a good look around. So also on the fleet was some nice new little additions is that there's crafting bays galore. So there's 3 types of crafting. I'm stuck on crafting. I'm sorry, Kidley. There's 3 different type of banks where you can store items in the game. There's the personal bank where you can store anything for your character. There's the legacy bank, which can be any items that are not bound to your character, like legacy bound items or things that aren't bound at all, like crafting items that can be shared between your characters. And lastly, there is the guild banks, which is items that you share with your guild. The legacy bank, when it was first introduced, was heavily tied to the player housing in the game, the strongholds. And basically, the only way to get a legacy bank was to get a stronghold first. This was a very cool way to get players into strongholds that may have not looked into that cosmetic aspect otherwise. So now, because strongholds have been out for like, what, 3-4 years now? Question mark?
I'm thinking a little bit longer than that, but yeah, something like that.
Long time now. Everybody is aware of legacy banks and they've put them all over the fleet again, so it's very nice to have more convenience available on the fleet, the main hub for all players. And of course Kidley goes back to Impside. So here are some of my favorite updates for this expansion. As we were talking about before, free-to-play players had a lot of restrictions and they were working on updating some of those. The big update for free-to-play players in 2019, at the very end during the Onslaught expansion, is that the first 2 expansions are now 100% free to all players. Doesn't matter, you don't even have to spend a dime and you can play them now, which is super, super cool. I think it also gives you a ton of other smaller content like Oricon, and I heard someone said that Section X is available for free to play now too. So what do you think about them making the first 2 X-Facts free, Kidley?
I think it's definitely a good move on their part. as we've been kind of talking over about the last half hour or so, they continue to loosen up more and more and more on their free-to-play restrictions, and it's going to be interesting to see how much further they go on that. I know there's some people out there who think that they should take this game to a straight-up buy-to-play model like some of their competitors, where basically you throw $20 at it and you get everything.
Personally, I like the subscribe 1 month to unlock the expansions. How do you think about that?
Well, really, it wouldn't be too different. I mean, it's fine the way it is, but if you're going with the other method as well, so again, you throw $20 at the game, you get everything, and then every time they have an expansion come out, you have to then buy the expansion. Again, $19.99. That's real similar to a sub.
Yeah, I'm very curious
everything.
about their numbers, because when they first started the game, you had to be subscribed and buy the expansions separately. And then they later changed it with the Knights of the Fallen Empire. You just had to be subscribed to unlock it and play the chapters. So I'm curious what their numbers were for those, because I feel like they've been switching around a lot with their business models.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some other nice updates apart from them getting the new expansions. They can now reach level 60, up from level 50. They can also play more war zones per week, so they can play 10 now instead of 5, 10 flashpoints per week to get the rewards, up from 3, and they can now play 10 solo space missions, up from 5. So this has been the year of free-to-play love, basically.
Absolutely.
I don't know if there's more coming in the future or not. I think them releasing the expansions was a huge, nice thing to do for free-to-play.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk a little bit about the negatives of 2019 too. So I don't have a ton, obviously, because we're mostly talking about new stuff being added. Not very much has been taken away. But one of the things I've noticed is that the group finder for Flashpoints has taken it was never perfect. You got lots of rando assholes before, but I feel like it's gotten a lot worse from feedback I've seen from other players, especially new players jumping in the group finder. Have you heard a lot about that? Heard people saying that?
Not really, except for a great example would be when we tried to get that raid together this morning and we were having problems with the group finder. So there's like that going on, but
like
as far
the technical group finder or the people that you're playing with?
It was a little bit of both.
So because of the way gearing works right now, the fastest way to gear is to run master mode flashpoints, or really run flashpoints at all. And many people are working on just gearing up. They don't give a flying bantha about people wanting to see the story or wanting to take their time or being new. And many players have been very, very rude because there's a big mix of players in the group finder. It's going to be people who are like wanting to speed run, as well as people who just joined the game and were excited to go try out this group content that they don't know anything about and maybe aren't even prepared for yet. So my negative for 2019 is that the group finder doesn't provide any type of mechanic to pair up players based on what their goals are, whether it's a speed run with spacebar, 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 or if you want to meet new players and try new things and take as long as you need.
Yeah, and through the evolution of the game, we've definitely seen some different versions of the group finder.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of the previous versions were maybe a little bit better. But yeah, it'd be neat if they would really expand out on it and add more options and stuff like that.
My big advice to players about this has been, if you have any specific way you want to run, if you want to speed run, or if you want to take your time and play with new players and see the story, if you have any requirements that you want, make a group through general chat. Just avoid the group finder altogether. Do you have any negatives about 2019 that you want to talk about?
The funny enough, the thing that just popped in my head is actually something that somebody just said in chat, and I really wish that BioWare would do something about the general chat.
God, I'm watching my language. No swearing, Swtorista. Oh my god, I was thinking about this a lot too, like especially lately. I wish they would delete chat from all accounts, especially new accounts. Like, you have to opt in to general chat. Like, it's horrible. Like, because everybody nice and normal has moved away to like guild chat or Discord or other types of things, and the only people left in general chat are racist people, sexist people, people who like posting about Hitler or raping people or whatever the just sorry, trying not to swear. It's such a bad presentation of the game for new players. And what's worse is that it is not even by far representational of a the kind of people like you guys here who are showing up in chat and hanging out and being part of the community. Most of these people turned off general chat because they don't want to see people talking about politics or whatever else other bad things that aren't really meant to be part of a online gaming general chat.
But yeah. I don't know if it's just a thing that, I mean, we know that they have customer service for this game. So
I don't think they have moderators, to be honest. Like I said,
no,
there was someone talking about raping people in chat, and like it was just there. Like it was sitting there for like at least an hour or whatever until it goes off the chat bar. Like they clearly do not have any type of moderation. So that's why I'm saying if they don't want to moderate it, then they need to delete it. And I don't even think I want more moderation because it's really hard to decide what crosses the line when it comes to an adult-based game. Like we have incest in this game. We have slave girl outfits in this game. Oh yeah. We have you can go do some sexy pants off dance off with your companions so you don't see it in game. Like, so should you filter those types of things out of chat? I don't know, because it is really meant to be a 13 plus game, and I would say it's even aimed a little higher. So I don't know if you could moderate it well, which is one of the reasons I'd like to turn it off. And I'd like to have, I don't know, some type of opt-in channels. I feel like the main positive of having a general chat is being able to easily see there's other players online, and it makes it feel more like an MMO, but it doesn't outweigh the fact that general chat is just a cesspool. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm very passionate about this.
No, I mean, I am too. I mean, I think it could be done, but the point that I was gonna make was EA/BioWare, they have customer service for this game.
Yeah.
Those customer service people sitting at their desks answering phone calls or whatever, they could have a character logged into the fleet and just sit there all day and just monitor chat. They could do that. And
but the problem is, I was thinking about that too. Like, why doesn't anyone just do it in the background? Like, I could do it in the background, but the problem is you have to, if you're doing it from a customer service point of view, you have to, one, establish guidelines. Two, establish a warning system because you shouldn't automatically be banning people. Three, establish different types of levels of punishment. Four, deal with people messaging in saying, I got banned from general chat and I didn't deserve it. Or, my post got reported by a different guild because they wanted to ban me from talking to my guildmates because they want to win conquest, which totally actually happened. Do you remember that? Can I talk about that for a second?
Sure.
So one of the ways that they were trying to combat credit selling was that if someone reports a message in chat so many times, like I report it, Killy reports it, Bob reports it because it's spam or whatever, then that person will get temporarily muted for a certain amount of time. No, nothing bad happens to them. They just can't talk in chat for a while. The problem was some people decided that to inhibit their competition for conquest, which is the guild versus guild competition, they would report another guild's players' messages and get them muted so they couldn't communicate with their guild to help them win conquest. So yeah, someone's asking in chat, is there such a thing as chat logs in this game, or are chat entries a once over? I think there is no chat log available to players, which is even worse. Like, what if someone's making like death threats to me in chat? Well, if I don't take a screenshot, it's gone forever for me. Though I assume that customer service would have access to those chat logs. It'd be too much a liability to not have it. But it's kind of bad that you don't have it yourself too. Oh, okay. Anyways, so yeah, that's what I think about that.
I mean, the last thing I want to say on it is I agree with everything you said. They would have to come up with a system and a process and all that. And an insta ban is something that would never happen. but an instant 24-hour timeout is something they could easily do, and it would only be for the general chats. You know, they can still message, they can still you know, guild chats and all that, but
I would
it's
honestly
like
be totally okay with that.
It's
You're
like
talking about Hitler. Instant
Yeah.
gen chat ban.
You know, it's like you're mouthing off, just boom, instant 24 hours. And if you get too many of those, then you are banned.
It's kind of interesting. I
From
think
chat.
other games do have volunteer moderators. Don't quote me on this. I don't know a lot about it. I think WoW does, right? And they're called game masters or something like that. I forget. I don't know if they still have that.
Yeah, they used to. I don't know if they do anymore.
But at the same time, you still have to like establish those guidelines. And what if I'm talking about the sexy incest imperial story, mommy son wow chicka wow wow time? That would be, I would say, is pretty inappropriate for general chat with 13-year-olds in it, but it's part of the game. And like things like talking about Hitler and stuff like that, obviously not really appropriate for a game's general chat, but a lot of those themes are heavily explored in the imperial storylines. Like slavery is a huge part of imperial storylines, so it'd be really difficult to set those guidelines. Like they have, I would say, pretty clear guidelines about harassing specific players. They aren't always on top of dealing with it, but if someone's harassing you or bothering you, there's no line to cross. Like they will cut them off the second they start doing that to you if you report it and actually keep following up yourself. I know this because we've had to deal with it with some of our poor guildmates. People would be not leaving them alone. Line Walker says one option could be a chat channels that require 18-year-old plus confirmation. I'm not sure I want that either. I don't want to go in that chat. Opt out for me. So yeah, and Corkamus is saying all large MMO chats have the same issues. Yeah, so I don't know what the solution is, but that's why I say right now my biggest suggestion would be just turn it off. Just done. Or maybe turn it on but only allow preset messages like Rocket League or something like that.
Yeah. But
okay.
I play a lot of games, and there are definitely some that are better than others. I would say that SWTOR is on the worst end compared to others that I've played.
Yeah, I 100% say that. I don't know why. I don't know what the reason is, because as far as I can tell, the SWTOR community as a whole is not any more toxic than any other game, and it's definitely less toxic than player versus player focused games like Overwatch or stuff like that. But I don't know. I think the main thing is that because the bulk of the SWTOR community has moved to those more private filtered chats, and that's just like, that's what we recommend to our guildmates. Every time someone says in guild chat, look at the stupid thing they're saying in general chat, everyone's like, I turn general chat off. You should turn general chat off. We turn general chat off. So it's just a perpetuating thing because normal people are no longer in there. Okay, I'm done with this conversation, Kidley.
Yep.
I'm gonna get too angry. Sorry. Okay, cool. That was the expansion. That was everything in the expansion. That was so much, Kidley. Like, they clearly saved it all up for one giant push, and I'm kind of happy they did because it felt like a lot when it came out.
No, it's one of the better expansions that we've seen in a while, and some of the stuff that we saw, including the gearing changes, are things that I thought we'd never see.
Yeah, that was a very interesting update. I did not expect them to spend so much developer time and effort and love into it. Okay, so we are going to move on to December 2019. We are getting close to the present. So there were quite a few updates. I'm looking at my list. So the first one we might want to talk about is that there has been a huge boost of players to the game. And this is from 4 different sources. We have obviously the new expansion people are returning to check out. We've got people finishing up the Fallen Order video game and want some more Star Wars in their life. Then the Mandalorian TV show blew up for popularity, and there's tons of people coming back who want to try out bounty hunters or heard from a friend you can play a bounty hunter. And then on top of that, whether you loved it or hate it, this Skywalker movie is another Star Wars reminder that made people crave to play the game again. So it's been so cool to see the population again. Like, I remember when the Onslaught first came out, a few days after I went to go to, what's the bounty hunter starter world?
Hara?
I'm stuck on Heda. Yeah, I was stuck on Quesh, and I went to Heda, and there's just like there was hundreds of little bounty hunters in the starter area. It was so cute, and yeah, so it was super cool that that all came out at once, basically, and it just made the population of the game just explode. So that was very, very cool to see, and a huge positive towards the game, because obviously some players are going to be done in a month from now, but lots are going to probably stick around if they've enjoyed whatever they've been playing.
Yeah, I actually put out a tweet on this, I think yesterday, that I'd love to see BioWare's numbers on how many new bounty hunters have been created in the last 2 weeks.
I would love to too. How many Nautilins and how many bounty hunters? So during December, we did get some actual updates. So there is some new missions on the Mech Shaw planet. It says the Mech Shaw Trade House is looking for assistance acquiring goods from across the galaxy in the new series of daily quests available after completing the Mech Shaw storyline. I haven't even checked that out yet. Have you done that yet?
No, I don't think so.
So I'll say it again for the millionth time. I love that I can go back to that whenever I want, whenever I'm ready. I can go and play that. I don't have to do it right now. So for me, although I don't play as fast as the updates come out, I guess you could say, so I always have stuff to look forward to. Like, I only played Imperial Osis like a couple weeks ago. So there, we were talking a lot about the possible punishments for dealing with chat, but BioWare has actually been looking into possible punishments for players who cheat in PvP. So Star Wars: The Old Republic has ranked PvP seasons. This means that you compete in player versus player content, and if you do really well, you get to be on a leaderboard and you get some special rewards, and you obviously get lots of bragging rights, which is probably the biggest reward of all. And but there's a lot of people who cheat. So there's some people who cheat by taking advantage of technical problems in the game. There's others who cheat by taking advantage of the group finder to kind of rig matches. Like, for example, one team is meant to win and one team is meant to lose, and you specifically queue up to make that happen. There's things like joining a group and specifically leaving it to make them lose. There's all kinds of things you can do, and probably way more that I don't even know about, to cheat the ranked season and try and either win or get someone else to win, or get someone else to lose if you don't like them. So for December, it was ranked PvP Season 12 finally was released, and the Season 11 rewards were sent out. So here's some of the interesting changes that they're making to the penalties for cheating. So here's the first one. Players who decline a queue pop or who leave a match early for ranked war zones will now be unable to queue again for 15 minutes. So obviously you could just leave a match because, oh shoot, my doorbell rang, I gotta go. My pizza's here. My dog barfed on the floor, whatever. And then, of course, you can leave just to screw up a match for whatever reason. Or you can inadvertently screw over your teammates if you're like, I don't want to play against these or with these guys again, and leave. And then they're short a person and automatically lose or whatever. So that's cool that they're introducing some additional punishments for that, I guess. Another one is increase the rating penalty received for declining a ranked PvP queue or leaving a match early to 25 rating, up from 15. I don't know much about the numbers, but they're clearly looking into it, which is cool. Another interesting one was they did a report on the forums that said during Season 11, we took action against a total of 163 accounts for cheating, hacking, win trading, or exploiting in PvP, including 18 permanent account bans. I think this is the first year or so that they've actually started releasing like hard numbers of what they did and didn't do. I remember when they first started, they said something like, we took action against 14 accounts, and I was like, what? Really? That's it? That's all you did? But I mean, they're clearly building on it, and they're also building on the systems that they're using to deal with these issues. SWTOR says 25 rating is significant. That's less than you gain for a win. Oh, sorry, more than you gain for a win. So it's one good match's worth that you would lose for declining. Another thing is that very, very interesting to me is that this was also posted on the forums by the developers. Starting with this season, we will also have the ability to remove cheating players from the ranked PvP environment altogether. So, in addition to all our previous actions, if an account is caught win trading, cheating, or exploiting in PvP, they will be removed from and unable to queue, join, or play ranked PvP for the rest of the season. If an account continues to be disruptive and problematic in other areas of the game, we absolutely reserve the right to permanently ban those accounts, and we will do so if we feel it's warranted. So BioWare has a very interesting stance on when it comes to players cheating in PvP. For some reason, they consider it very lax. Like, it's not a huge issue. They kind of just like giggle about it. Like, they understand that it negatively affects other players and they don't want that to happen, but they don't like, oh, I hate those cheaters. They're ruining our game. They should all burn in a fire. It's very interesting that they don't really want to ban the accounts because they obviously don't hate them that much. And they also, from a financial point of view, you don't want to ban somebody because when you ban someone, you obviously lose their subscriber money and any cosmetic items they would buy. But you can also set off a chain reaction where, oh, my best friend's not playing anymore, so I won't play anymore. Oh, my buddy's not playing anymore, so I won't play anymore. Oh, half the people in my guild just got quit or banned from the game. I won't play anymore too. And it can set off really negative reactions in a huge chain. So it's interesting that they just banned them for ranked PvP, and I'm curious about if players continue playing the game after that, or if they rage quit because they're banned from their favorite activity that they like cheating in.
I would say traditionally across games, if they get banned for cheating, they end up just buying another account and they just keep doing it. But I know a lot of those people are into the battle royale games and stuff like that, so maybe they don't take SWTOR nearly as seriously. But
Yeah. So, but anyways, it's interesting that they're trying something, and I think it's cool. I guess we'll see how it actually works out. And neither of us. Do you play ranked PvP, Kidley?
no.
So we're not the best ones to give feedback on whether or not the actual changes are good or bad, but I'm just happy they're trying, because it felt like in the past, like it felt like nothing was happening. Like I'd have friends saying like people are cheating and they're just still there and they're still on the leaderboard and blah blah blah, and that makes me sad, because if you're playing genuinely as like a real player who's trying hard to win and learning your class and dealing with all the rage that exists in chat, it's really, I can imagine, discouraging to also fight against players who are cheating and it feels like nothing can be done about it. You can't like go to their house and tell their mom or anything. So it's up to BioWare to deal with them. All right, so that was the interesting changes to PvP and ranked season that happened at the end of last year. Something was released called Life Day. Keely was actually running around doing some Life Day stuff earlier. So Life Day is the SWTOR, or Star Wars version of Christmas, I guess you could say. In game, it's kind of just generally a pet a Wookiee. A way to celebrate the holidays in general, not necessarily Christmas, but whatever the spirit of the winter season is. And they added one small addition to the game, which was the ability to hug a Wookiee. So that was very amusing. I saw something one of the developers posted that made me laugh. It's cool to kind of follow them on Twitter because sometimes they post stuff about the game. But they said that since whenever you walk close to a Wookiee, the Wookiee gives you the ability. So all Wookiee hugs are consensual. So you can feel very happy hugging those Wookiees. All of them want to be hugged back, or they would not give you that ability. So that was just a very cute addition to the game. I feel like it was something like, hey, does anyone want to add anything new to the Life Day? And somebody was like, let's hug Wookiees. I can get behind that. Okay, so this is important for you guys who don't follow news of the game. This is the 8th year anniversary, as we said, and there are a bunch of free gifts, Kidley, if you want to head to the fleet and show people where the anniversary vendor is. So if you have not checked out the anniversary vendor, it will be available on the fleet until January 7th, and then it will go away till next year. So you can get a ton of rewards. It's in the I don't remember what section. I'm having a brain fart.
Another quick note, since I went to Hutta real quick, since we were talking about it. There's actually 3 shards of Hutta right now on a Saturday afternoon, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's nice. Stronghold section of the fleet. It's called the Anniversary Vendor. He's near where you can buy a stronghold, so there's a bunch of terminals nearby.
Yeah, he's kind of in the corner.
And there is a ton of rewards that you can get that you can't get during any other part of the game and time of the game. And there's things like there's the Senya Hollow statue, which is a trainer, so you can get your abilities during any time without having to go look for a trainer. That's really nice if you're leveling a new character. There's a bunch of decorations. The newest one are some cool little tiny models of these SWTOR class ships on a little like stack. They're cute and tiny. There's some fireworks stuff. There's some silly emotes. What else is on there, Kidley?
Well, the snow globes, I forget, was that the new thing this year or last year?
I think the snow globes are a cartel market thing, and I think they release them every year. They're just a cosmetic thing you can buy. And if you guys, do you have a guide about Life Day up, Kidley? If not, I have a good one by a friend.
I think I did one like 5 years ago.
Another player called Fibro Jedi, I'll put it in chat, made a really good Life Day guide and updated it for the newest event.
Ooh, that's not the right one.
There you go. So the Life Day event is also going to January 7th. So if you want to go hug some Wookiees or throw snowballs at other players or earn fun Life Day items like decorations and stuff like that, you can follow the link I posted in chat or search Fibro Jedi Life Day and it will come up. Oh, there you go. Kidley found it.
Yeah, sorry, I drove by him once. For some reason, I thought he was like... Wasn't he like here, and then they put in the Onderon one? And then
I was looking at a screenshot.
That's what I was looking for. I'm like, I swear he was like back in that corner. They moved him.
I was in that corner earlier getting my rewards. So let's see. And the last update. Oh, so one really cool thing they did for the 8th anniversary is that a ton of the developers shared little blurbs about their experience working on the game or what they love about it or how they feel about the fact that they've reached 8 years. And it's a very, I would guess, very touching thing to read because sometimes we forget that the people working on this are real people and they're not like corporate drones or something like that. So it's neat to read their experience, and I'll post that in chat too. There's at least like 20 entries, I think. And they're from all different parts of the departments. And lastly, there was some major updates to crafting because, as I mentioned, it was way too bad when it first was released. Way too bad. It was way too expensive and material heavy, and they reduced the material costs, increased the reverse engineer chances, and made it so you could get more materials more easily. So that was a very welcome update. And once they made that update, that was when I finally finished and released my guide because I was happy enough with the results of what they did. That was 2019. Congratulations, guys. It took us... Did it take us an hour and 43 minutes?
Yep.
Kidley, I have to leave in 15 minutes because I'm going to go see The Rise of Skywalker. Oh my god. I haven't seen it yet, but we're leaving at exactly 1 p.m. my time. So we're going to go very quickly over what's coming up in 2020. So the dev stream, they promised a roadmap coming early 2020 as they're coming back from the holidays, possibly a live stream this month in January. One of the big things we know is coming is the Onderon Stronghold. They showed it off. It was super cool. It has a beautiful stained glass window and it's a giant palace in the mountains, and there's all kinds of cool stuff for it. They said it's going to be probably as big as the biggest stronghold so far. There's no timeline given. It was previewed on the PTS last month in December, and I think they're going to try testing it properly on the PTS in January, like a real PTS test. As Lori just posted a link to the Stronghold preview in chat if you want to go see it. If you didn't see it, then Kidley's going to do Q&A. I'm just going to have to go, which sucks. Sorry. companions that were missing were Theron C. Drax, so made a cameo in Onslaught, and BioWare said his Alliance Alert recruitment will come in an upcoming patch. Did that happen yet? I don't think so, huh?
I don't think so.
So he should be coming back soon, it sounds like. Zenith is still missing, but Charles Boyd wants to bring him back eventually. Those were both Jedi Consular companions.
Mm-hmm.
And Charles Boyd said something very interesting on the last stream. He said, I don't have a time frame for you, but the chances are very good when it comes to having some old companion dialogue again. It's something that he's taking as a priority in the coming couple of years to get new opportunities to chat with your old companions you haven't seen in a while. So that's super cool. In update 6.1, it will include a little bit of story like Hearts and Minds, brief story update, checking in with how your alliance is doing currently, and some of the characters involved in that before we dive into the bigger, crazier stuff that was foreshadowed at the end of Onslaught. If you finished Onslaught, there was some very interesting conversation at the very, very end that is going to lead us into 6.1. I won't say what it is here because it's a huge spoiler. The ETA, the main part of 6.1, will be on the PTS in January, so it probably won't be released January. They're going to continue putting things on the PTS and then launching when it's ready instead of promising release dates. It sounds like they're kind of aiming for February, but once again, don't take that as the promise. What else is coming up? There's going to be Master Mode Ducks in Operation, The Nature of Progress. It's coming for sure that they confirmed it, but it's not going to be in 6.1. More details coming in the future. Kidley and me talked about those loadouts that will probably be coming sometime in 2020, though we really haven't heard a lot about them except the first mention last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, they actually released the in-game schedule for this month, so Life Day will end 7th. Bounty Contract Week is happening right now, too. It'll end January 7th. The Dantooine event, if you wanted to try it out, will be January 14th to 21, and the Kree event will be January 28th to February 4th. They did confirm that there will be no Baby Yoda in-game, but maybe we'll get a soup-sipping emote.
Yeah, there's no way they can do that.
No. And one of the big things that they said in the last stream is that they're already thinking and planning about SWTOR's 10-year anniversary coming up, and that like blew my mind. That's like 2 years away, and they're already working on it. That's cool.
Yeah.
So that's everything we know is coming.
Yeah. In another stream, Charles Boyd said, because obviously the next question is, are you guys going to do another expansion? And Charles said he has plans for 7.0.
Yeah, so that's pretty wow. I think that also once again points to the positive future of the game, because they wouldn't say that. There's no reason to say that if it's not true. Like, if they're going to be shut down yesterday, then they would be all glum and like, yeah, we're just working on stuff for you guys, you know, not, oh, I'm already thinking about 2 years down the road. Yeah.
Mm.
So, Kidley, I have 10 minutes. What are some of the stuff that you think will come in 2020 that we didn't already talk about, and anything you wish for 2020?
Well, I think we will see that loadout system. And I think they will continue the Onslaught story this year. It'll be probably, you know, we won't get an expansion in 2020, but they'll do some pretty big patches. And they'll probably do some...
Why do you think we're not going to get an expansion? What's your reasoning?
My reasoning is that apparently, and this is what I've been told. Obviously, when we have these cantinas, there's a lot of people that can talk with the developers, right?
Yeah, there was 10 last time. They brought 10 developers to the event. That was pretty funny.
So...
cool.
And I don't know if I should say who it is off the top of my head or just in general, but basically Keith was telling people at the last cantina that the Onslaught stuff is going to be 18 months long.
Oh, wow.
So that we won't see an expansion for at least 18 months.
Year and a half, yeah. That's crazy. I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I want solid sources, Kidley. But if it came from Keith, they were joking last stream that Keith is the lead producer of the game. He seems really cool, but they try to not put him on stream because he'll sometimes reveal stuff he wasn't supposed to say.
But it
So
makes
no
sense
expansion,
for
probably.
it makes sense for what they're trying to do. So they just released the expansion, and so basically for the next year and a half, 2 years, they're just gonna put out these small little story bits to kind of keep everybody going, and then they release like the next big thing. I think is what
It's
they're gonna
very
try and do.
interesting because this last expansion was a huge cliffhanger at the end, and it didn't feel like a cliffhanger that was going to get resolved in 2 years from now. It felt like something was coming up, not necessarily tomorrow, but within the next little while that would continue that plot point heavily.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you're expecting or hoping for in 2020?
I'm sure we'll see another raid. We'll see more flashpoints. They'll probably jump on the PvP train at some point and do another battleground or arena. We're obviously getting Onderon, but I expect at least 2 to 3 more strongholds. I think they will do a super small one.
This year, 2 to 3?
Yeah.
Wow, you're ambitious, Kid Lee.
Yeah.
A stronghold every quarter of the month.
Yeah, maybe. But no, they kind of mentioned it on the last live stream, something about, would you guys be interested in like a small one? And I'm like, yes. So I think they'll do like a really small one.
I think that's true. Yeah, because people have been asking for it for a while.
Give me my Hoth bunker. It's only 3 rooms. That's it. I want 3 rooms with a bay window and a fireplace. That's it. Be really easy to do.
I think that wraps everything up. Is there anything else you want to talk about for 2019 or 2020?
No, I don't think so.
I feel like I said a lot. I feel like I got my feelings out already. Do you want to jump into Q&A while I have 10 minutes before I go?
Sure. So if anybody has any questions in chat, we can go ahead and do that now.
These can be questions like you're new to the game and you have questions about how things work. You're a veteran of the game and you want to ask more in-depth questions, or if you just want our opinions about anything, because we're both obviously passionate players who love blabbing about the game. So SWTOR says, Kidley and Swtorista, realistic or unrealistic? What do you want to see happen with the game in 2020? I want it to be successful. It's the big thing, I guess. Continue having a good population and positive outlook about the game, but it sounds like they're on a good track for that. So less realistic wishes, I really want some type of collecting system for non-cartel market armor, and like to expand that to have a way to display it in your stronghold, say to have like armor dummies or mannequins, whatever you want to say. I think that would add a lot more longevity to the game, kind of like how when Strongholds came out, you would go back and do the old flashpoints to get the new decorations. I'd like it to be the same way, where you can get different armor sets from every single piece of content in the game and then not have to keep them in your inventory.
I'm going to take the unrealistic approach, and I'm going to say I want my PvE Galactic Starfighter.
Yeah, off-rail space. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm sorry, Kidley. Toby says, will y'all be participating in Nightmare Mode Duxon? How do you like this raid at its current state? So as I mentioned, I have had to cut raiding out of my schedule due to my work and life schedule, which is sad. So I'm still waiting to get into story mode. So Kidley, do you do a lot of Nightmare Mode raiding? I used to when I was not making content. Basically, I was in a progression team.
I've told the story many times that I used to be a hardcore raider. I did everything, main, tanked, healed, DPS, and I basically have retired from hardcore raiding.
So no Nightmare Mode Duxon for us, but I'm sure there are lots of players who are looking forward to jumping into it. So Dama says, I have not played in 2 years. I was a founder. Would you start from scratch due to all the changes? So the biggest piece of advice that I hear for players who are returning in the game is to make a new character and start from level 1. This is so that you can experience the changes more naturally instead of just being dumped into your level, it'd be like level 60 character and being like, oh my god, everything's changed. But since there hasn't been a ton of change in 2 years, if you feel comfortable playing your character and you feel you remember the story well and you aren't overwhelmed by all the gearing stuff, I think you're probably okay to continue your current character. But anyone who's not played since like launch or 4 years ago, I'm like automatically just make that level 1 character. Leveling up is very, very not flawless, but very smooth, very easy to do now. You don't have to do the side quests. You get XP fast. Level sync makes it easy to be on the right path. Like that level 1 character is waiting for you.
Yep.
So as Lori said, both of you, what are your favorite memories from 2019? I was trying to think of that, and I just kept getting stuck on Star Wars Celebration. All of it was amazing. What about you, Kimberly?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think just the announcement of that new expansion and everything that went along with it was absolutely amazing.
Imlad Morgul says, I want a pod racing type of content against other players. Very interesting. The developers also wanted this, but they found out it's not something that would be able to function in the game because of something called desync. Basically, the travel time between what you do and what shows up in game for other players. So sometimes you'd look like you're in first place, but you're actually in last, stuff like that. They actually put the little bit of pod racing testing they did into the game. So if you've ever done these Zyos dailies and got to run around the little speeder with the boosts, that was a prototype of the pod racing. Kid Lee and Swtorista from Dat Asuna. If SWTOR was to start releasing books again, who would you like one to see featured? Oh, that's a good one. So we have Malgus already. We have Revan. We had some good Theron Sean Timon. We had some Satil Sean Timon. Off the top of my head, I can't remember who else.
I would actually like them to do some more stories on the book characters that we already know. So you've got Satil's Padawan. It's like, let's do a new book on him. There was a trooper girl named Lorin Moxla. Let's like do something with her maybe.
I think I'd like to see something about Tau Adair and Arn. They seem to have such complicated histories, and I'd love to see that explored because they can only do so much in-game because it's the current time. It's not the past. They're going to mention their past, but they're not going to be actively living it, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
IJ Tempest says, should I do lightning to sorcerer or corruption? Dude, your name has Tempest in it. You're lightning. Do it.
No, I think
I'll actually. Oh, sorry.
I think lightning's a more complex rotation compared to corruption. Isn't that correct, chat?
Okay, cool. So, All Access says, will Malgus remain the big baddie or will another threat emerge? I think this was very hinted at in the end of Onslaught. So I'll keep it spoiler free, but Malgus is not the big baddie.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, big baddie, that is your point of view, of course.
That's true. Yeah, Malgus could be your big daddy if you want it to be. SWTOR says, biggest quality of life improvement you want to see, not including loadouts. Like I said, I want something for armor. I would like, I know it's not going to happen because it's a huge project, but I'd like a better style of tutorials to teach people in-game because the ones that are there are literally garbage, but the ones that would be actually useful would require so much work that it wouldn't even be worth doing. So that's what I want to see, but it's not going to happen.
I'm trying to think what my answer for this would even be, because it seems like a lot of the things that we want, they have done.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Absolutely. There's been so many quality of life updates over the game's timeline. I'm pretty happy with them.
I mean, I don't know if this really counts, but I would think, I would say my answer is I just want the game to run better. But I don't know if that's really a quality of life.
They're trying on that. I'd say less lag is quality of life. And they have made improvements to that to make it run better over the years too. Yeah. It's just they can only do so much with what they got. Genghis Obi Kwan. Will speeders ever get faster? I feel like I'm traveling in mud. They actually wanted to make them even faster, but it's a technical limitation. I think it would cause too much lag or something if they went any faster.
Yeah.
It's the same reason we don't have flying mounts, basically.
Yeah, they'd have to redo the game from scratch for flying mounts.
R2D2 ARM said celebration was a highlight. Let's hope we get another booth for SWTOR this year. And we have applied again, and we are waiting for February to get a answer. Let's see. Jawa High Five. Kidley and Swtorista. I'm hoping for at least one Fancy Warzone that isn't Hutball and comes with up-to-date multiplayer game design and polished performance. Sorry.
Oh, I'm totally down for that. I want to see them do something new with PvP. I know there's a lot of people that really love... Oh, that's the wrong quote. I know there's a lot of people that really love Hutball. But yeah, I want to see them do something new and different.
Something different. Star Wars Rock says, how come no one has done the guide for Carnage Combat, Marauder, Sentinel? So I'm working on the Ultimate Guide of Guides, a list of all guides by all SWTOR players ever for 2020. I'm hoping to post that on Tuesday. But from what I understand, the reason no one's done a guide is because it's essentially the same as 3.0. Like, it hasn't changed in the last 3 years. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's what I've heard. SWTOR says... Sorry, go ahead.
It seems to me that Volk and Zamzam are kind of the two...
Yes.
That are doing those.
They have taken up the mantle that Dolphy has unfortunately left behind. I'm so proud of both of them. They are kicking ass for guides. They are, if you are a guide writer, definitely go talk to either of them. They're both very nice and work really hard. So if you want to release a guide, you can talk to them and they'll help you publish it. You just have to do the hard work of actually writing it. I think Volk is actually, you don't have to write it yourself. If you're willing to work with him, he'll help you write it. SWTOR says, how do you think the revamp of Anthem will affect BioWare's resources for SWTOR going forward? I have to go, Kidley. Thank you so much for the stream. I'm going to go watch Star Wars now.
Absolutely, yeah. Have fun. You'll have to let us know what you think about it.
Happy New Year, and Happy New Year, chat. So Kidley is going to stick around with you guys. So keep asking your questions, and he'll answer too.
Yep, we'll keep doing some more Q&A. But yeah, Swtorista, once again, thanks for coming out and doing this. Always glad to have you.
Thank you. It's always so fun to come on with you and talk to chat. I'll see you guys later. Bye.
All right, thanks again. See you later. All right. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, again, big thanks to Swtorista for coming out and doing these. Always love having her on. But yeah, we'll keep doing some more Q&A. Let me find where that SWTOR question was. Yeah, the whole Anthem revamp thing, that's one of those things where it's really hard to say, because it seemed to me that a fair amount of the SWTOR team was working on Anthem. Then you've got Dragon Age as well being worked on by BioWare. So they're kind of working on 3 games right now, and you never know whether or not they are working on a 4th game as well. And going back to the 18 months comment that I had earlier, I think that might be one of the reasons. But in the end, we don't really know. So what I'm actually going to do here super quick, guys, before we continue the Q&A, is I need to step out for just a second. So if everybody wants to get up and stretch, we shall reconvene in like 2 minutes, and we'll continue this. So I will see you guys in just a minute.